You know that feeling, right? You're just scrolling through your phone, maybe mindless in that feed.
Oh, yeah.
And you're swiping past all these highlight reels. The perfect vacations, the big career wins, the seemingly flawless lives everyone has online.
Curated lives, definitely.
Exactly. And then, bam, it hits you. That little voice, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's pretty loud, whispering that your own life, your reality feels, well, maybe a little less shiny, a bit messier.
Definitely less curated.
Yeah. And suddenly you're feeling that pang of inadequacy, maybe a knot of anxiety in your stomach, that feeling that somehow you're just not measuring up.
It's such a common experience now, pervasive, really.
It is. And it leaves us feeling just totally drained, utterly exhausted by it all.
It absolutely does, that stress, that feeling of being overwhelmed, maybe depleted, that just washes over you after you've been swimming in that online world. And you inevitably find yourself comparing your own, behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's polished front stage show. It's incredibly real.
It really is.
And the impact on our mental well-being is becoming not some trivial thing. It genuinely affects how we feel about ourselves, about our lives.
And that specific feeling from online comparison, that's exactly what we're diving deep into today.
Good. It needs unpacking.
We've pulled together quite a bit of perspectives. We've got candid, real-world stuff from online forums, people growing today.
Lived experience. Crucial.
Totally. Then there are some, more philosophical takes on how we use technology, and also, importantly, some rigorous academic research that's really digging into the nuts and bolts. How does our online behavior actually affect health?
So a multifaceted look.
Exactly. This deep dive is, it's to understand the social media trap. What is it? Why is it so darn sticky?
Yeah, why is it so hard to get out of?
Right. And most importantly, how can we maybe find a way to escape it, or at least navigate it better? How do we reconnect with who we genuinely are amidst all this noise?
That's the core mission, isn't it? To unpack the mechanics. Why are we drawn in? What keeps us scrolling? Even when we kind of know it doesn't make us feel good. So we'll draw on both those personal stories, those lived experiences you mentioned from the forums, and also the more structured findings from the academic work.
Right.
And significantly, we want to explore how cultivating something really fundamental like authenticity, being true to yourself, especially in how you show up online, might actually be a key to better mental well-being, to navigating this complex digital world.
Okay.
So let's pull back the curtain and see what these sources tell us about finding our footing.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's set the stage first. What exactly is this social media landscape, the one that seems to have such a grip on our attention, our emotions?
Good starting point.
One of the sources we looked at gave a pretty useful definition to kind of ground us. It describes social media internet-based channels that allow users to opportunistically interact and selectively self-present. That seems important, either in real time or asynchronously, with audiences who derive value from user-generated content and the perception of interaction.
That's a mouthful, but that phrase, selectively self-present, wow, that hits the nail.
It really does.
That's the absolute core of the comparison trap. We're not usually putting our full, unvarnished, messy there, are we?
Definitely not.
No, we're choosing what to show. Often it's the highlights, right? Smoothing over the rough patches.
Polishing it up.
Exactly. And we're doing it for these audiences who aren't just passively consuming. They value the perception of interaction.
Right. The likes, the comments.
The quick comments, or maybe just observing. But that whole cycle presenting, getting feedback, or maybe not getting feedback, that's central. And it's just such fertile ground for comparison because you're constantly bombarded with everyone else's curated highlights.
It really is built for comparison, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the actual experience of using these things, most of us know this intimately, it often falls into these almost like rituals.
Mm-hmm. Like autopilot.
Totally autopilot.
Yeah.
That constant scrolling, often mindless, scroll.
Yeah.
You're just moving through this endless stream of info, images, seeing what everyone else is saying, how they look, what they've achieved.
The curated version of what they're achieving.
Yeah, exactly. A selection, often a highly positive selection.
Yeah.
So that comparison, whether you're consciously thinking, oh, their life is better, or it's just this subtle background hum, It feels almost inevitable.
It's baked into the system. The architecture of the platforms kind of encourages it. And the potential downsides of this constant, sometimes really intense engagement, well, they're becoming more and more apparent. Although, to be fair, the research on the exact link between social media use and mental health it's complex.
Right.
No, definitely not. And frankly, sometimes the findings conflict. A research overview we looked at really highlighted this complexity. It noted that, yeah, some studies might show positive things or neutral effects depending on how you use social media.
Okay.
But many studies do point to concerning links with mental health issues. The overview specifically mentioned that intense use, particularly on platforms like Instagram, Twitter, is often implicated in these negative associations.
That makes sense. Those are very visual or fast-paced.
Right. But here's the crucial nuance, I think. The same exact types of use, scrolling for hours, say, can have vastly different results for different people. What might be a positive connecting experience for one person could be genuinely detrimental for someone else.
To the person.
Massively. It just underscores how much individual vulnerability, your existing mental state, and crucially, how you personally choose to interact with these platforms. All of that truly matters. It's not just the app itself. It's the interplay between the app and the user.
That variability makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of problem or solution for that matter.
Precisely.
And I think that variability is probably why you see so many people talking about that common feeling, this desire to just cut back.
That I need a break feeling.
Totally.
Yeah.
You see it so clearly in those online discussions we looked at, like that Reddit thread. Or asking, how can I reduce my social media use without just quitting entirely? Or they're desperately seeking advice on how to break what feels like a real phone addiction.
Yeah, that language is strong. Addiction.
It is. There's this real, palpable sense of wanting to step back. A recognition, maybe, that this constant immersion, this constant exposure to curated lives, it just might not be serving their well-being anymore.
And that widespread desire to reduce use, that's a really significant indicator in itself.
How so?
Well, it suggests that for a whole lot of people, their relationship with social media has shifted. It's gone from being maybe a useful tool or just a fun diversion to something that feels more like a burden or even, a source of access.
Yeah, I could see that.
And to really get why it's so incredibly hard to just flip a switch and stop, why quit isn't helpful advice, we need to look under the hood at the psychology of these habits. It's not just about willpower.
Right. It runs deeper than that. And this is where looking at frameworks like Charles Duhigg's idea of the habit loop, it becomes really illuminating, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It provides structure.
Yeah, it helps us see the pattern behind like mindless scrolling or clicking. So think of it like a cycle, right? 3 main parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward.
Exactly. Cue. That's the trigger. It's the little signal to your brain that says, okay, time to do that social media thing.
Right.
And for social media, these cues can be feeling or external, like a notification sound. A Reddit user, Euphoric Green Grit, gave a perfect example of common internal cues. Things like boredom. That feeling of, total disinterest in the work you're supposed to be doing.
Cue.
Totally. Or maybe the anxiety about some upcoming task that you really, really want to avoid. You feel uncomfortable or you're facing something tough, and bam, that feeling itself becomes the signal. Time to escape.
Okay, so that's the cue. Routine is the automatic behavior that just snaps into place when the cue hits.
Yep.
So in this case, it's logging into social media. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is. That's the routine. It's that well-worn path your brain just defaults to.
The path of least resistance.
Yeah. And then comes the reward. This
Yeah.
is the payoff, right? The thing that reinforces the whole loop.
That's right. It's that little hit of dopamine you get. Seeing a notification pop up, getting a like, a comment, discovering some new piece of gossip or funny video.
Or just feeling connected for a second.
Or even just that fleeting sense of being connected. Yeah. Or simply the temporary distraction from the boredom or anxiety that triggered the whole thing. Even if it's short-lived, reward tells your brain, hey, that worked. Felt better for a second. Do that again next time you feel that cue.
The catch, and it's a big one, as Euphoric Green Grit also mentioned, the consequence.
Right. The after effect.
Yeah. After you've gone through the word, opened the app, scrolled, got that little dopamine hit it. The feeling that often follows isn't really satisfaction, is it? It's more like regret, or guilt.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly. Intellectually, okay, scrolling when I really should have been working on that report. Or I should have found a better way to deal with feeling anxious. The habit loop delivered its reward, but it also delivered this negative consequence that just feeds right back into the stress we were talking about.
And that consequence links directly to another really critical point that came up in the sources. Social media very, very often functions as a coping mechanism.
Oh, right, like a crutch.
Yeah, exactly. Reddit user Los Recuerdos mentioned noticing their social media use was intrinsically linked to anxiety,
Yeah.
that it was being used as a way to cope with uncomfortable feelings.
And that other query, Pickle Prude, asking about how to replace coping mechanisms, that highlights it too. People recognize they're using it this way.
They do. It's often not just about killing time. For many people, it's become a primary way to try and manage or maybe just difficult emotions.
Yeah.
The research paper we looked at really digs into this. It suggests that some folks, particularly young adults, might get away from negative feelings, or maybe even to feel less constrained than they do in their offline lives.
Interesting. Less constrained how?
Well, they might perceive it as a space where they feel they can truly be themselves in a way they feel they can't offline, maybe express opinions or interests they hold back elsewhere.
So there's a potential positive there, a space for self-expression.
Potentially, yes, but that presents a real paradox. Social media offers this space where you might feel more freedom, more ability to be in certain ways, but at the same time, the very act of turning to it can be a form of avoidance, a way to escape rather than actually confront the negative feelings in the first place.
Right. So it's both potential outlet and a potential escape hatch.
Exactly. And that duality makes it incredibly difficult to just impose strict limits. It's not just about stopping a behavior. It might feel like taking away a coping tool, however.
That leads right into the pitfall of just trying to restrict yourself too harshly, right?
Precisely.
Also for Recuerdos, in that Reddit brought up revenge bedtime procrastination. I've heard that term before.
It's become quite well known.
It's this thing where if you spend all day trying super hard to restrict your social media use, constantly suppressing the urge whenever that cue hits.
Fighting it all day.
Yeah. You might find yourself totally overcompensating late at night. You finally feel free from the day's demands, the restrictions are off, and you just dive headfirst into hours of scrolling precisely when you should be sleeping.
Driven by that feeling of, I missed out. Even just, I deserve this break.
Right.
It's a classic example of something psychologists call psychological reactance.
Okay, what's that?
Basically, when you feel choose a behavior like checking your phone as being threatened or restricted, you to do that behavior.
The forbidden fruit effect.
Kind of. Builds up this feeling of deprivation. So when the opportunity finally arises, maybe late at night when no one's looking, you reclaim that freedom by just going overboard.
Wow.
And this pattern just vividly shows why simply blocking access or relying purely on willpower work in the long run. If social media is serving some deeper need, coping with anxiety, escaping boredom, filling a void, you absolutely have to address those underlying reasons, not just the scrolling itself.
Okay, so if just saying, I'm quitting, or trying to block the magic bullet, what can we actually do? How do we genuinely reclaim our time, our attention, our well-being from this social media vortex?
Right, the practical stuff.
Yeah. And our sources offered a whole suite of strategies, actually.
Yeah.
Things that move beyond just restriction towards more intentional engagement and disengagement.
Yes. And one really powerful approach, surprisingly simple but effective, is creating friction.
Friction, like making it harder.
Exactly. Making it harder to automatically slip into the habit. Reddit user Crocodile Pancake shared that one of the helpful things they did was just deleting the social media apps from their phone.
Ah, okay. Off the home screen.
Off the phone entirely. They specifically mentioned how this helped them kick habits on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Yeah.
Because logging in required way more effort.
Right. You have to open the browser, type the address.
Log in.
Yeah. That friction, it's key, isn't it? Interrupts that lightning-fast automatic habit loop. Instead of that split-second tap-tap reward, you now have these extra steps.
Creates a pause.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That pause gives your conscious brain a moment to step in and say, wait, do I really want to do this right now?
Yeah.
It breaks the impulsive routine. Euphoric Greenegret uses a similar tactic, only logging in via desktop browsers, avoiding that seamless, always-on temptation of the phone apps.
And Euphoric Greenegret adds another layer of friction, which is quite clever, using cookie auto-delete.
How does that work?
It forces you to log in manually every single time you visit the site on your desktop. You have to remember your password, type it in.
Ugh, yeah, that would definitely slow me down.
Right? It acts as this constant small barrier. Quick, mindless check-ins feel like more of a chore, less of an instant reward, makes the routine less automatic.
Okay, so making it harder to access is one big piece. What else? Another essential strategy seemed to be about replacing the habit, right? Filling the void.
Absolutely crucial. You can't just take something away without putting something else in its place, especially if it was serving a purpose, like coping.
Right.
So if you're using to deal with anxiety or boredom, you need alternative, hopefully healthier ways to manage those feelings. Karen Cactus suggested things
Like what?
like exercising, going for a walk, maybe tackling some chores you've been putting off.
Get that sense of accomplishment instead.
Exactly. And self-care, mindfulness practices, these offer different kinds of rewards. Physical well-being, accomplishment, genuine regulation that can actually compete with and hopefully eventually replace that temporary, often hollow reward from scrolling.
Put it so simply. Replacement. Get a hobby.
Simple but profound. And it resonates with ideas which came up in the digital minimalism source.
Right, the digital minimalism guy.
Yeah. Newport argues you need to fix your analog life first. The point is to free up time by cutting back on digital stuff and then sit there twiddling your thumbs.
Right, you need something to do at that time.
Exactly. You need to fill that time and mental space with what he calls high-quality leisure activities.
High-quality leisure. What does that mean exactly?
It's distinct from just passive consumption, like watching TV.
Right.
It's about engaging in activities that are satisfying and meaningful for their own sake. Things that require skill or focused attention.
Ah, okay. Not just zoning out.
Right. Activities that provide a deeper, more lasting sense of fulfillment than just mindlessly scrolling.
And Newport gave some good, concrete examples, didn't he?
He did. Things like weightlifting. He even called it supercharged socializing if you do it in a gym.
Interesting take.
Yeah. Or cooking meals from scratch. Or playing a musical instrument. Spending time outdoors, unplugged walks without your phone. Gardening.
Things that connect you to the physical world.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Reading physical books or magazines. Writing by hand in a notebook.
Old school.
Totally. But these things actively engage you. They build skills, connect you physically, often require deep, which is the total opposite of that fragmented digital attention.
Yeah.
And they offer different rewards: mastery, health, creativity, genuine connection. Fundamentally different from those fleeting dopamine hits online.
Okay, so friction, replacement with high-quality leisure. What about changing how we use social media when we are online? Not just cutting down time, but being more intentional.
Yes, absolutely. That's another critical angle. Instead of just defaulting to that endless passive scroll, approach it with a clear purpose.
Like having a mission when you log on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reddit users Clickswell and Los Recuerdos highlighted this, using it specifically for targeted reasons. Like, okay, I'm logging in with these specific family members or close friends.
Or catch up on this specific news source.
Right. Or staying informed on specific events, or finding information or publicity for something you actively need or want or like, using it like a tool, not just a time sink or a pacifier.
And Clickswell had that great simple tip. Unfollow noise.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. Just of accounts that trigger the mindless scrolling or make you feel bad. Meme accounts, news aggregators maybe, influencer posts always leave you feeling inadequate.
Ruthlessly curate your feed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that what you do see serve your purpose or genuinely add some value instead of just filling time or making you compare.
And this lines up perfectly with what the digital minimalism source called techno-selectionism.
Techno-selectionism.
Yeah. Be willing to try new platforms or tools, sure. But develop the discipline to quickly abandon the ones that don't provide real, quantifiable value based on your core values.
So don't be everywhere just because it exists.
Exactly. Don't feel pressured. Be discerning. Ask, does this actually help me live the life I want to live?
That requires some self-reflection. Okay, another big theme was boundaries, setting clear rules.
Non-negotiable, I'd say. Reddit user Girl Self Summer shared one that made a huge difference for them. Phone or laptop in bed rule.
Ah yes, the bedroom sanctuary.
Pretty much. Keeping devices out physically prevented the trap, the revenge bedtime procrastination we talked about. It created space for calmer activities like reading an actual book.
And this boundary idea extends beyond the bedroom, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Practicing deliberate phone avoidance throughout the day, little pockets of disconnection,
Like what?
like keeping your phone on silent, maybe face down or completely out of sight during certain times, your morning routine maybe. Periods of focused work, absolutely. When you're spending quality time with your kids or friends,
Be present.
be present. During walks outdoors, even just while waiting for an appointment, resist the urge to fill every microsecond with scrolling.
When the waiting room scroll.
It is. The digital minimalism source suggests things like batching text responses, checking and replying only at set times, or, radical idea, actually calling someone instead of endless back and forth texts.
A phone call. Imagine.
Or leaving your phone in your bed during meetings or meals with friends.
It's really about making the default state one of being here in the physical world rather than constantly poised to be pulled away by the digital stream.
Exactly. And that connects directly to prioritizing real, actual in-person connection, or at least richer connection than just likes.
So use the tech to facilitate real life.
Use your phone as a tool to plan meetups, to deepen connections, not as a substitute for them. Prioritize interactions where you can actually hear their tone of voice, pick up on all those nonverbal cues.
So phone calls, video chats.
And especially in person. Liking a post or leaving a looks great comment is just not the same thing as a real conversation. Or building a relationship based on genuine presence and experience.
The digital minimalism source even suggested some maybe more radical ideas. Small acts of rebellion.
Yeah, embracing analog alternatives. Using landlines if you still have one. Relying on paper maps sometimes. Reading physical books and magazines.
Things that feel almost natural now.
They do. And while they might seem less convenient, they can be really satisfying precisely because back against that default digital immersion. They require a different kind of engagement, often more focused.
And what about just stepping away completely sometimes?
Also important, periodic social media deactivation phases, as suggested in that source. Taking a week off.
The digital detox.
Yeah, it can offer a really valuable reset. It lets you see what you actually miss about it. Maybe specific connections, what you absolutely don't miss at all.
Like the endless comparison, maybe.
Exactly. And related to that, refusing those rote, almost meaningless online actions. Don't feel obligated to like or comment on everything. Don't let those clicks become a substitute for genuine conversation or showing you care.
So underneath a lot of these strategies, especially from the digital minimalism angle,
Sure.
there's this deeper call, right, to fundamentally question your whole relationship with technology.
That's the bedrock. It's not just about tips and tricks, though those help. It's about stepping way back and asking yourself some big questions.
Like, what role do I want technology to play in my life? Does my current usage pattern align with my deepest values? Things like real connection, creativity, health, focus.
Or is it undermining them?
Or is it undermining them? It's about consciously, intentionally rebuilding that relationship from the ground up, deciding which digital tools or platforms genuinely serve you and help you live a life that feels meaningful to you, and identifying which ones are just distractions, or worse, detractions.
That level of critical evaluation feels like the necessary foundation, doesn't it, for making any of these practical strategies actually stick long term?
Absolutely. You need the why before the how really takes root.
Okay. That framework, shifting from mindlessness to intentionality, feels incredibly helpful. Now let's bring in that other piece of the puzzle we mentioned, that fascinating academic study, the one that looks at it another for navigating this, focusing specifically on the idea of being you online. Authenticity. Yes, authenticity. A powerful concept. The research paper we looked at defined it quite clearly. It's about knowing yourself and acting in ways that are consistent with that true self.
Okay.
And it breaks it down into about 3 components. Authentic living, basically, acting in line with your core beliefs and values.
Makes sense.
Then there's the absence of self-alienation, meaning you don't feel connected or estranged from your real self.
You feel like you.
Right. And third, not excessively accepting external influence. So not just conforming to what others expect or want you to be.
Right.
Resisting that pressure.
So it's about being internally consistent and expressing that outwardly without just caving to pressure.
Pretty much. And the paper makes a really insightful point here.
Yeah.
People often have different perceptions of themselves and therefore their authenticity. different roles.
Like you might feel more authentic at home than at work, maybe.
Exactly. Or, crucially for our conversation, your perceived authenticity offline might be different from your perceived authenticity.
Right. That's key.
Yeah.
Because it acknowledges we might show different sides of ourselves online.
Yes. The question isn't, are you the exact same person online and off? Which, let's face it, who is?
True.
But rather, do you perceive the way you perceive yourself online as authentic, as true to some aspect of your real self, even if it's not the whole picture? Does it feel genuine to you?
Okay. And this is where the main finding of that research study comes in. It was a longitudinal study, right? Following college students over time.
That's right. Longitudinal means they tracked the same group of American students over several months. This lets you look at how things change, influence each other over time, like authenticity and mental health.
And the primary result was, well, it's pretty compelling and directional. Perceived authenticity on social media precedes fewer mental health symptoms 2 months later.
Yeah, let that sink in. It's not just a correlation. It suggests a direction. How authentic the student being on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, etc. at the beginning of the actually predicted their mental health outcomes 2 months down the line.
Wow. And do they get more specific about which mental health symptoms?
They did. They found that authentic online leading to fewer symptoms later was particularly strong when they looked at measures of stress and overall negative mental health.
So feeling authentic online seems especially protective against feeling stressed or just generally distressed later on.
Exactly. And here's what powerful, I think. This effect held true even when the researchers statistically controlled for how authentic the students felt in their offline lives.
That down.
It means it wasn't just that people who feel authentic everywhere also feel better overall. No, this suggests that for this group of young adults at least, feeling authentic specifically on social media had its own independent link to better mental health.
So online authenticity wasn't just a reflection of offline. It had its own unique benefit.
It seems so, especially regarding reducing stress. Feeling authentic online seemed to offer an additional layer of protection, you could say.
That's actually pretty profound, isn't it?
It really is.
It suggests that for a generation that's so deeply immersed in these spaces, I think you said the study participants averaged nearly 6 hours a day on their phones.
Yeah, a significant amount of time.
Their digital environment might be a really important focal context, as the researchers put it, a key place where they experience the benefits of being authentic.
The positive effects of being true to yourself might actually show up more strongly or maybe just uniquely in online social spaces. Perhaps even more so, or at least differently, than in physical social settings for this group.
That kind of challenges the traditional thinking, doesn't it? Usually psychology focuses on authenticity in the face-to-face world.
It does. Theories have traditionally emphasized authenticity in our physical interaction, our real-world environments. But these findings suggest that for generations, the online space is a huge part of their social reality.
It's not separate anymore.
No. And how authentic they feel within that space seems highly psychological well-being. Perceiving yourself authentic on social media, it's not just a nice idea. This study suggests it might be a genuine protective factor. It could help mitigate some of those negative mental health symptoms, like the very stress that online comparison often fuels.
So it offers a path to building resilience within the platforms themselves, not just by avoiding them.
That seems to be the implication. Finding a way to be genuinely you online could be a powerful.
Okay, that's a really crucial piece of this puzzle. But does this apply equally to everyone? Does feeling authentic online have the same protective shield of your personality, maybe?
Good question. The researchers explored that too by looking at another psychological concept, self-control.
Self-control. What's that?
It's basically about how you see yourself in relation to others and the world around you. It's often talked about on a spectrum.
Okay.
On one end, you have independent self-control. That's seeing yourself primarily as a separate individual, self-reliant, consistent in who you are across different situations.
Like I am who I am regardless of who I'm with.
On the other end, you have interdependent self-control. That's seeing yourself as more connected to others, defined more by your relationships and social. You might see yourself as more variable, adapting your behavior depending on the social context.
More focused on harmony and fitting in, maybe?
Could be part. seeing the self as fundamentally interwoven with others.
Okay, independent versus interdependent. So how did that relate to online authenticity and mental health?
Well, here's where the study had a really surprising exploratory finding, something that kind of went against what they might have expected, especially based on an individualistic cultures like the US, where the study happened.
Okay, intrigued. What did they find?
They found that the link between perceived authenticity on social media and fewer negative mental health symptoms later on, well, it was potentially more strongly related for those with less independent self-controls.
Wait, so for the more interdependent people,
Right.
the ones who see themselves as more connected and variable.
Exactly. For individuals who tend to see themselves as more defined by their connections or attuned to context, those folks seem to get an even bigger mental health boost from feeling authentic online compared to the highly independent types.
Wow, and you said that's counterintuitive.
It seems so, right? You probably predict that in a culture like the US, which really values independence and being your own person, feeling authentic is most beneficial for those who strongly embody that independent ideal.
Yeah, that makes logical sense.
It definitely challenges that assumption. The authors speculate a bit on why this might be. One idea is that perhaps people with more interdependent selves might naturally use social media in ways that are more, well, adaptive from a relational standpoint.
Oh, so.
Maybe they instinctively use it more to emphasize connection, build community, maintain relationships online, things that align perfectly with their core way of seeing themselves in the world. So their authentic expression online is inherently relational.
Okay. Whereas maybe some of the more negative ways people use social media.
Right. Maybe some forms of maladaptive use the kind that really fuel comparison, envy, chasing superficial validation. Maybe those align more with traits sometimes associated with less desirable aspects of individualism, like narcissism or maybe impulsiveness.
Ah, interesting. So it's not just being authentic, but how that authenticity plays out in relation to your core self-view.
That seems to be the idea. The benefit might come from the match. When your online behavior express yourself genuinely align with your fundamental self-control, whether that's expressing unique individuality or connecting deeply with them. Perhaps that's when you experience the greatest sense of authenticity and the biggest psychological payoff.
It's a fascinating one. It suggests the online world isn't just one thing. Its effects aren't monolithic. It interacts with who we are.
Very much.
Okay, let's try and weave all these threads together now. This is a lot, but it feels connected. We've got this comparison, that sticky habit loop.
The friction, the replacement strategies.
Right, that whole arsenal of practical ways to control. And then this powerful research showing that feeling online is linked to better mental health, especially less stress.
And maybe even more so for people who see themselves as more interconnected.
Yeah. So how do those practical strategies we talked about earlier, deleting hobbies, setting boundaries, how do they actually help us cultivate that authenticity online? What's the connection?
That's this, isn't it? Connecting the doing with the being. The goal isn't just, grimly reducing your screen time like it's some chore.
Right. It's not just about the...
No. It's about intentionally shaping your digital interactions, shaping your online presence, so that it feels like a reflection of your authentic self, or at least an authentic facet of yourself. The strategies are the tools that create the space, the mindset, the opportunity for that authenticity to actually emerge and flourish.
Okay, so let's take an example. Creating friction, deleting apps, using desktop logins.
Yeah.
How do you foster authenticity?
Well, it's not just about making it harder to scroll mindlessly, though it does that. It's about breaking that automatic, often anxiety-driven habit loop. That loop might lead you to engage online in ways that don't feel true to you.
Like
Maybe posting something just because you think it likes, even if it's not really you. Or doom scrolling and comparing yourself when you're feeling insecure. Breaking that automatic loop creates a pause, a space where you can make a conscious choice, choose a more authentic action, or choose not to engage at all.
so less mindless reaction, more conscious action.
Precisely. When you're not just defaulting to scrolling driven by habit or avoidance, more bandwidth, right? More mental energy, more intention.
Yeah.
And that allows you to choose how you engage. Maybe you use that energy to seek out and participate in online groups where you feel safe, where you can express genuine interests or opinions without fear of judgment. Less passive consumption leaves more room for active, meaningful interactions that actually feel true to you.
And replacing the bad habits, like scrolling when anxious with, say, going for a walk.
underlying cue. By finding healthier ways to manage those difficult feelings, the anxiety, the boredom, you reduce the need to use social media as an escape hatch. And often when we use it as an that's when we fall into inauthentic or performative behavior online. So cause, not just the symptom.
That makes sense. And using social media with a purpose, like checking specific groups or friends.
That inherently selective and intentional. You're focusing on the parts of the platform that allow you to express specific, authentic aspects of yourself or connect based on shared values you genuinely hold. You're less likely to get lost in the noise of comparison or feel pressured to perform for a generic audience.
Supports that directly.
Absolutely. You're curating your digital environment to reduce the triggers for inauthentic performance or those negative comparison feelings. You're creating a space that reflects your interests and values better.
What about the boundaries?
Yeah.
Like no phone at the bed or putting it away during meals?
Those boundaries reinforce what you truly prioritize. By actively valuing your own time, your world, your face-to-face relationships, you're building a stronger foundation for authenticity, both online and off.
How so?
Because you're less likely to validation or connection online out of a sense of deficit or loneliness created by neglecting your real-world bonds. Your online is more of a supplement, less of a replacement. Ultimately, all these strategies kind of work together. They shift you from being reactive, driven by habit and external cues, to being proactive, driven by your own values and intentions in relation to social media.
So you're choosing presence.
You're choosing it rather than letting it be dictated by algorithms or ingrained habits or that relentless pressure to conform and compare, creating the conditions needed for you to feel and therefore perceive yourself as more authentic in that digital space.
And the payoff, as that research strongly suggests, is potentially huge. By fostering that perceived authenticity online, you're building psychological resilience.
Like a
Exactly. A buffer against the very stress and negative mental health impacts that the online world, especially the can dish out.
Right.
And it's independent of how your curated life stacks up against someone else's curated life.
Because you're focused internally on being true to yourself. Precisely. You're focusing on you. And that's a much more stable, more empowering foundation for well-being. And constantly looking over your shoulder and comparing yourself to external, often artificial, benchmark.
Like a fundamental shift. Moving from passive consumption and comparison to active, deliberate, authentic engagement.
That's the goal, a relationship with the digital realm that serves you, rather than the other way around.
Wow. Okay, that feels like a really comprehensive journey we've taken.
Yeah.
We started by just acknowledging that feeling, that relatable stress and comparison from social media.
That hook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we dove into the psychology, that habit keeps us stuck scrolling.
Cue, routine, reward, consequence.
Right. Then we explored that whole toolkit of practical strategies, friction replacement, purpose, boundaries, drawing on real experiences and philosophies like digital minimalism, ways to regain control, intentional.
Concrete steps people can take.
Exactly. And then we layered in that fascinating research showing this clear link. Being authentic, specifically on social media, seems connected to better mental health down the road, particularly less stress.
And that surprising twist that this might be even more relevant for those who see themselves as more interconnected.
The key takeaway from that study really is profound, isn't it? For young adults especially, who live so much in their lives, how authentic they perceive themselves to be in that online space. It seems to predict better mental health outcomes later, independent of how authentic they feel offline.
It really speaks volumes about the evolving nature of identity, self-well-being in our incredibly digitally integrated world. The lines are blurred.
For sure. So here's maybe a final thought, something for you away from this deep dive. Given this finding that perceiving yourself as authentic online might be this crucial independent factor for your mental well-being, especially stress, what does that truly tell us about how the self is evolving in this digital age?
Yeah, big question.
Right. If such a significant and growing part of our social lives, our self-expression, happens online, does our sense of authenticity within that digital space now hold a new kind of importance? Maybe even a primary importance for our psychic health in some ways.
It's definitely something to ponder.
And building on everything we've talked about, the habit loop, all those strategies and the research, you listening right now actively work towards cultivating a version of yourself, both in your digital life that feels truly authentic to you. A version that reflects your genuine values, your beliefs, than one that's just curated for likes or built reactively in that endless, exhausting comparison game.